Welcome to the Health Revolution, a show for people who want straight answers about their health, their body, and their life. Here we cut through trends, through myths, and recycled advice to break down what actually works and why. We explore physical strength, resilience, and mindset through real science, real experience, and real conversations. You'll hear from guests who faced challenge, adapted, and moved forward with intention. No hype, no shortcuts, just clarity you can use. I'm your host, Adriana Morrison, health and fitness expert, speaker, and a mom who understands real life. This is the Health Revolution. We begin now. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Health Revolution. We are excited that you are joining us today. I'm your host, Adriana Morrison, and no matter which way you're tuning into us, please do not forget to hit the subscribe button. We want to stay connected to you. We also want to give a big shout out to all our new viewers and listeners. We're excited that you are joining us on the show, and also give a nod to our returning viewers and listeners. Our show is all about all things elevating the physical strength of the human body, the emotional resilience, and the mental mastery. All of those are the keys to having that optimal life that we want to have. And with all the different topics that we cover, this one is near and dear to my heart because once we hit over 40, everything changes, especially for us women over 40. Today, we are talking about the midlife reset, and I'm excited to introduce to you a guest who is she is level expert in this area. We're going to get to know her and have a deep conversation of what we need to do as women over 40. First, take a look at this. Meet Rhonda J. Williams, a clarity and confidence catalyst helping women over 40 rewrite what is possible in midlife. After facing her own health challenges, identity shifts, and the pressure to have it all figured out, Rhonda discovered that lasting transformation is not about motivation or quick fixes. It's about rebuilding confidence, creating sustainable habits, and learning to trust yourself again. Today, through her work as an author, speaker, and coach, she empowers women to break free from all or nothing thinking and embrace midlife as a powerful opportunity for reinvention. Today, we will learn how to navigate life's transitions with confidence, create meaningful change that lasts, and discover why your next chapter may be your most powerful yet. Rhonda J. Williams, welcome to the show.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I'm just excited to be here, excited to share my story, and just excited to keep this movement going.
I want to start right there with your story. So, you've gone through your own personal changes and your own transformation. What was the catalyst for you that got you to the point where you knew you had to make a change and things had to be different?
Yeah. So I'll say, personally, I've struggled with my weight my entire life. I always say by resume, a certified executive coach, helping others reach their greatest and highest potential. But personally, there was this one area that I just could not crack the code. And so, chronic weight, chronic inflammation, low energy, those things always lingered around no matter how much life I had figured out for myself. And when menopause came in the scene, see, I had to slow down a little bit. So, menopause, like so many of us, came in like a wrecking ball. And although I had struggled with my weight, I had never been small. What was happening to my life and my weight, the menopause belly, was far different than anything I had ever experienced. So, for me, that was truly what I call a tipping point. I reached the highest weight I had been in my entire life. I was completely out of gas, out of motivation. And it was in that moment where I mostly did what I normally do. I go in my toolkit, I activated some of the things that I normally do, drinking more water, moving again, and doing a fast. And it just so happens that that particular fast that I chose that time, that opened up the door to a transformation that I couldn't have imagined. It opened, because it wasn't just about the weight. Ultimately, it came down to my energy, my joy, my creativity. And that's what set me on the path to the biggest breakthrough of my entire life.
And when I think about, obviously I'm 53 and I know that this is a difference maker, a plot twist that life throws to us women. When did you first notice that you were going through changes in perimenopause? What were some things that came up for you that maybe you didn't realize that were tied to this whole journey?
Absolutely. I'm glad you asked it that way because I actually was in perimenopause and didn't fully know it. I remember having conversations with friends and we were thinking, nobody told us this stuff. Like, we were talking about all the things that were happening. And when I shared that my cycle had started to change, my cycle had been changing for 3 years. And I just was like, oh, it's changing a little bit. I've never seen this happen, but I didn't put it together. And so things had been happening for about 3 years. My cycle was changing. It was kind of doing its own thing, showing up when it got ready. Again, my energy had been low, but it was getting worse. In addition to that, the weight had been a struggle, but it was getting harder and harder and harder. And that thing that really tipped the scale was that menopause belly. The menopause belly that showed up. Again, I had never been small, but I had never had this huge belly. And so that was when I went Googling around. I was like, oh my God, I've been in perimenopause all this time. But yeah.
When did it start for you? Because I know for a lot of women, we don't. A lot of doctors don't recognize this, and we can certainly talk about this. But for many women, it starts in the late 30s, going into the 40s, not necessarily, later on, but we don't have as much attention to paying attention to this in the 30s. What's your take on that? Like, did you experience some of these in your 30s and then it just didn't really connect the dots until later?
Yeah, now that you say that, I will say early 40s because again, I noticed definitive changes later, closer to 50 in the 50s, but there were slow changes in my mid to late 40s that started to take place. And I've always been a late bloomer, and so that kind of aligns with my path. But I totally didn't pay attention. I totally didn't pay attention to it. I just, I noticed a thing, you're just doing life, you're just going forward. But when I roll the tape back, I can start to put the puzzle pieces together.
So when you were noticing some of these and maybe not enough to notice that it was under the radar, how did it affect you personally and even professionally? How did perimenopause show up for you in these areas?
Yeah, to me, the energy and the creativity were the biggest things. Now, when I think about my energy, I always wanted to be just this bubbly, happy, joyful person. And that was what I wanted. I worked on it very intentionally, but there was always, it felt like this buffer, this ceiling. And I would have a day or two where I was really just in the zone, really joyful, moving. And I was like, okay, I'm having a good day. But I could never tap into having that be the norm. And so that was a thing for me. So again, my energy and then the creativity, slowly things started to change with my creativity. That was the brain fog. I didn't recognize it. It was coming in. I couldn't think through things. I couldn't even spell. I would try to spell things and it just was not pulling up. And I remember in right around 40, I did have this moment where everything kind of shifted. Like I started gaining weight out of the blue, like the brain fog just really crashed. Ultimately, I found out my adrenals crashed. And now that I look back, I know that that had a lot to do with it. So little bitty things were happening, but that energy and that creativity, that brain fog, that's what hurt my feelings the absolute most.
You talk about the adrenal system, which I think is super huge to highlight the fact that our nervous system and stress management they play such a key role. Can you talk a little bit about what we are not paying attention to, especially if we're growing into our careers, if we are just kind of as women, we're leveling up and we're upgrading with the different things that we're being involved in. What did you notice personally? And then also you just paying attention to different trends. What did you see?
Yeah, so I'm glad you again asked that way because, as a coach, a professional coach, I coach people from all different levels, C-suite, high performers, high potential, all different levels, and a lot of women. And so number one is women, we're nurturers, we're going to go the extra mile, we're going to be everything to a lot of people. And so what I saw for myself is where I had been showing up that way for so many people and really going the extra mile, pushing through. The push through was not working anymore for me personally. And what I started to see with clients as well, they were doing what they normally did, but not meeting the mark the same way. And they were shaming themselves. They were feeling inadequate and just feeling like they didn't know like what is happening. And so we had to do a lot of work in understanding, what's different now. The level of responsibility, getting 40 and fabulous and beyond is amazing. But the flip side is the level of responsibility is stacking up. Some of us are in the sandwich generation where we're raising kids and helping our parents as well. So again, as a professional, we're a woman first and foremost. We want to show up and help everyone. As a high performing professional, we want to do the same, but life is not the same. And so that's the huge, biggest disconnect. Having that, feeling bad about it, but not taking the understanding that life is different. The level of responsibilities are different. Even the amount of anxiety out in the world is different. And so it would make sense that it would be different. But if we never slow down, if we're never able to have that conversation with ourselves, just for ourselves, we are not tapped into that to really realize what's happening.
I think it's amazing and interesting that right at the trajectory of a woman coming into her prime and just being older and wiser, that the amount of responsibilities are coming into play, and at the same time our bodies are changing. So it's almost like this perfect storm for her to feel frustrated, for her to be at her wit's end, for her to question everything. What have you noticed when you've worked with women through this, and even with your own journey? What were some things that were some warning signs that you knew you had to pay more attention to you in addition to your responsibilities?
Yeah, so I would say the biggest one is getting sick. Getting sick, being overly tired, and the lack of energy. Again, the reflection is you sit with yourself and like, what's going on? Like, I normally can do this, I normally can do that, I normally can show up in all these different places, but I'm not hitting it like I used to. So that was a huge indicator. And again, like I say, the sometimes the automatic response is to look at me like, oh, I'm not fabulous anymore. I'm not able to make it happen the same way anymore. And so that again, that's the biggest indicator. And also I've also seen a level of anxiety, like where, more people are experiencing anxiety. I experience anxiety where I used to do things to manage it, right? And I actually, if I'm honest, I was managing it unconsciously. I had just a baseline level of good, solid habits in place, and that worked for me. But it got to the point where so much of life and responsibility was happening, changing with my body, that what was normal, what used to help me manage things, was no longer helping me manage things. And so I remember a day when I sat probably at this very desk and thought, I think I'm actually going to have to get some medication, and that's not my thing. I don't want to get medication if I don't have to. But when I had to be real with myself, and those are the conversations I had with so many other women, high performers, that to have to reach out for some type of medical help, it's like a wake up call, but it's also still a bit of denial there. Like, this can't be true. This can't be happening.
What was that first conversation like with your healthcare providers when it came up naturally that you were, that there were some symptoms that you weren't quite sure what they were, but then also you were thinking, I need to let my doctors know. And I ask this because a lot of women do struggle with not only talking to their doctors, but then also, it's almost like a crapshoot. There's some doctors that listen, and then some doctors that believe in outdated information. So what was it like when you first talked to your doctor about what you were going through and needing his or her help to help you navigate?
Yeah, it was exactly what you explained. It was brick walls, it was outdated information, it was being dismissed, it was being ignored, it was really not being taken serious. Like, I have gone into the doctor, I've done thorough research before I went in. I've gone in with a list of things, a list of challenges, a list of things that are happening, and I've been looked at like, oh, someone's been Googling, right? You've been talking to the Google doctor. Pretty much the number one response is, oh, perimenopause, and nothing more. Not perimenopause, let's see how to work around it. Let's see what we can do to maximize this moment for your life. No, just perimenopause, stamp your file and move along, right? So again, dismissal, ignoring. And I literally have had a doctor say, oh, someone's been Googling. What that feels like when you're desperately seeking answers to get that type of energy? Not good.
Yeah, I would probably go into a full spiral if I was told someone's been Googling. I think I would just have a hard time holding my composure. But I think it's actually offensive to this day, and I guess not necessarily the fault of the doctors automatically, because I know many have not been, and many people may not know this, but doctors are not trained in menopausal research or data when they're going in med school. And not to poo-poo on doctors, but so that the training is not there, but the air of I know more than you is offensive. And so what's been your dialogue since, when you've talked to doctors who maybe come off like they're about to go that route, and then you respond? What are some of your favorite ways to respond to a doctor who maybe comes across that way?
Yeah, unfortunately, in the beginning, I took it on myself. I felt bad, I felt guilty, I felt ashamed, and so I just kind of tucked my tail and went home. But because one thing about my personality, I'm never going to lose hope. I may clock out for a moment, but I'm going to get back up because I got to figure this out for myself. So through research and trial and error, and that's what I talk with a lot of clients. Sometimes we feel like when we make a plan, it's just going to go straight. It's going to be a linear plan. When you make a plan, market draft. It has to be tried and tested in the market. And so I did research to understand the difference between a medical doctor and a functional medicine doctor. And so I found the world of functional medicine and functional nutrition. And if your listeners don't know the difference between that, they're all medical professionals, but the functional medicine doctor or nutritionist, their focus is on root cause. They are interested in the thing that is causing the thing versus just prescribing medication to manage symptoms. And so once I got into that world, everything opened up for me. I started to have better conversations. I found doctors that would listen more. And I found doctors that were more in my mindset. If they came off initially, on the initial, because when I went, I didn't go, before I went, like, here's the stuff, please fix me. And when I got educated, I went to interview them. And so I went with a totally different perspective. And so I wanted them to be 100% who they are so I could know where they were and make my decision for myself. But yeah.
I think the biggest thing that we are doing as women is having more conversations, which I love the conversation you and I are having right now, because I still come across women who feel like they have no hope. So to your point that you still hold on to hope, I think there's a level of resilience that we have to have that allows us to still keep moving forward. Like, no, this can't be the finite answer, because society, not only we're evolving, but the science, the medicine, the research, and what we're understanding is evolving still. And so, but it still shocks me sometimes that some women just throw in the towel so quickly. Do you find that you still run into women that this unlocks a whole new level of, oh, I didn't know all this?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what motivates me to do what I do. Because I remember all that I was doing, all the research, I still remember feeling out of hope, right? Or having low on hope. So I know what it took for me to get back up time and time again. And I also understand the mindset that we have a mindset, we're kind of raised on standard American diet. What we think we know to be true about food is what we think we know to be true. And when you get introduced to a whole different animal, a whole different way of doing things, it's transformational mindset work. That's not an easy feat. I always say I can tell you what I ate and what I didn't eat, but it won't matter if you don't understand why I'm saying what I'm saying is the solution, then what I'm offering you as a solution, it's not going to stick. So, yes, I definitively run into women all the time. And again, my work is transformational mindset work, first and foremost.
We're going to get more. We're into this. First, we're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We're coming right back.
So in the calm bag, it has GABA, theanine, and taurine. So theanine, which is B1, which is also in our B complex, but it also helps with the stress response levels. It also helps with the neurological transmitters in our brain. Combined with the GABA, and then you add taurine to it. Taurine is a non-essential amino acid in our body, but it's found in our heart, our brain, and our eyes. So in my personal opinion, it's very essential in our lives. But taurine has a calming effect as well. When I was battling all my AFib issues, I was taking high doses of taurine because that would help with my AFib. It helped with the palpitations I was having. And it also helped with the anxiety of having the palpitations because I knew what was going on. And so taurine helps a lot with that as well. So those three together create such a wonderful concoction that just really just calms people down.
Introducing Launchpad, the perfect partner to help you launch your dream project to the world. We know that time is of the essence, and we're here to help you make the most of it. With Launchpad, you'll get access to the most advanced digital tools and strategies to take your idea from a mere concept to a fully fledged success. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur or a seasoned pro, we have everything you need to make your mark in the world. Launchpad, your ultimate launch partner.
Today, we're talking about what it is about the midlife reset. And our guest today, Rhonda J. Williams, she's an author, speaker, and coach. We're talking about all things how to transform our lives over as we are entering menopause and beyond the midlife years. We can certainly take new strategy steps to move things forward. So Rhonda, before the break, we were talking about your specific journey and how you've been able to utilize your personal journey and then just put pen to pad. And I want to talk about your book, Real Health Answers for Weight Loss After 40. Talk to us about when you decided to write the book. Why did you write the book? And what are some things that we can expect from the book?
Absolutely. And so I know I shared my tipping point, right? So this moment where I reached the highest weight, me entering into a fast as part of the things that I was going to use to kind of get myself back together. And that really opened up just my whole world. So as I journeyed through that first year down my path, releasing the weight, ultimately releasing more than 60 pounds, reducing that menopause belly, brain fog gone, friends and family slowly started to ask me, "What are you doing? What are you up to?" And I found myself repeating the same thing over and over. And so, as a coach, I've trainer, I was like, let me write this down. And so I wrote it down. I started to take notes, and I thought, well, maybe I'll just do a quick little ebook because I was joking with family members. They would ask me questions. I was like, the book's coming out. And they were like, well, we're ready. So I set out to do a simple little ebook. And as I did that, I kept writing and kept writing and kept writing. And it turned into a whole book. I contacted an editor and I was like, is this a whole book? And they were like, yes. So ultimately, I wrote this book in 4 months. I wrote the book in 4 months because I was so inspired. And again, I was inspired because I had struggled with it my entire life. I've done the things, I've tried the things, all the different things. And ultimately, I was walking around a very simple solution. And I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it could be this simple. I couldn't believe it could be this transformational. And I just wanted to get out there and tell the world.
I love how you talk about real health answers, and we've got a copy here for our viewers and listeners to see. And for those of you who can't see, I always like to poke around in books whenever we have authors on our show. And I know you talked about, and I want to just draw your attention to chapter 2. There was page 27. You write, "May I have your attention, please? Flight 226 to Menopause City is now landing. Greetings, friend. We like to welcome you to Menopause City, or the place of wherever challenge you may be facing. Here in the great city of menopause, you will no longer be able to lose a significant amount of weight, and a large belly will form below. You should expect bloating and mood changes. Brain fog and insomnia will roll in shortly." And then you started diving into your specific journey. Talk a little bit about, you went right for the jugular about the menopause belly. And so say more about what that meant for you and how you felt like you needed to not give up on your body to get to where you wanted to be.
Yeah, so that menopause belly stood out, and that's why it made the cover of the book. And I actually was taking that picture to send to my nutritionist, like, what is this thing? I remember visiting my mom one day, and she touched my stomach and she goes, "Is your stomach swollen?" I go, "No." Right. And so it was this moment where, okay, things have been happening. It had always been a struggle to lose weight, but this is bananas for me. And so again, that was just this huge moment for me to just say something has to give, something has to change. And again, I may lose hope for a moment, but I never fully run out. And so again, I got back up, I got moving forward. And again, when I found, ultimately discovered that this was an answer for me and so many, I just felt like I just cannot hold this in because I see so many people struggling. And then menopause was my tipping point. But as you see in the book, I talk about there's so many other tipping points. It could be a diagnosis. It could be you just not having good self-image about yourself. It could be heart disease, diabetes. It could be a number of things. The thing that shakes you up, that could be your tipping point as well.
I appreciate that you talk about the menopause belly because and this is for viewers who and listeners who don't know, but the visceral adipose tissue that's around our internal organs is the responsible factor, the largely responsible factor for when our hormones are changing. When estrogen's on the decline, it just throws everything off kilter. So many women I've experienced it, where suddenly it's like, okay, this pooch from nowhere, and I'm going along, and this is, what is happening here. And you talk about a couple things, not only just that, but I love on page, and I'm jump around a little bit. You brought up a challenge back on page, or fast forward to page 109. And you talked about challenge number 1 being a behavioral change and the different phases. And you talk here about personal development is totally my jam. I'll try not to be super nerdy on this one. Consider yourself warned. But here goes. Changing behavior is not an easy task. Setting a goal or deciding that you want something doesn't mean you're actually ready, willing, and able to walk out the actions to make that goal a reality. A lot of the available information about dieting, losing weight, or getting healthy fails to address the environment or the influences that you face. Why is it so hard for us to face? What have you noticed about us women and our reluctance to maybe face the things that we need to address so that we can move forward?
Yeah, I think it's a combination. So a lot of it is, we use the word mindset, but I hate to overuse it, but mindset for me is an entire bucket. It can be the way you've been raised, it could be experiences that you have, it could involve your culture, it can involve traditions, and those things are baked in. They run deep and wide. And so anything I do as a coach, as a professional, is going to be behavioral based because you can have the most amazing information in the world. Nowadays, you can Google anything: how to be rich, how to be skinny, how to do all the things, how to take over the world. What's the disconnect? Behavior. And so change is going to be 80% behavior. 80% you figuring you out, you getting around yourself, you figuring out how to lower the barrier of entry, lower the barrier of consistency. And so having things focus on that versus the information is the information, but I've got to help to meet you where you are, help you figure you out, and help you kind of come up with a plan that's going to work for you.
What I find is fascinating, and I love that you say that, is that it seems I remember Tony Robbins once talking about, and I don't think he's the originator of this message, but I remember him once upon a time saying that human beings do two things. We have two innate things that we do. We either do things to gain pleasure or to avoid pain. And so that underneath everything that we do, it falls under those two actions. And when I think about the things that we don't want to face, even myself, when I think about the times when I'm just dragging my feet to face something I don't want to face, sometimes it's embarrassment. Sometimes I'm afraid of embarrassment. I'm afraid to look bad. I'm afraid of like what other people will think of me. I'm afraid that, and I find myself thinking in the past, thinking these things. What have you noticed has been an issue with us women, especially going through perimenopause and then eventually menopause, that fall under that category? The potential scrutiny. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I feel like the biggest thing is, first and foremost, women not wanting to put themselves first, feeling like putting themselves first is wrong, that it is a sacrifice of everything else and everybody else. And so when we don't want to put ourselves first, or whatever the language we want to use, sometimes people even get caught up on that language. In coaching, it's like, I feel like if I'm talking to a person about setting boundaries or actually taking the actions that they want to take for themselves and not allowing things to get in the way, they often will reflect on what's going to fall apart, feeling like what's not going to happen if they do this thing. And I'll reflect back to them like, do you notice that every time we talk about you putting yourself first, your reaction is negative to all the terrible, terrible, awful things that are going to happen? So again, for me, that's the first one I see. And oftentimes that is completely unconscious. That behavior, they're design some goals, they don't take them, and they find themselves in a tug of war. It's completely unconscious because we're wired often to not put ourselves first. That's the biggest thing I see.
And so things are having to change when we get older and entering perimenopause and menopause. I love how the book came out earlier this year. Am I correct on that? They came out earlier.
Yes, the re-release. Mm-hmm.
Congratulations, that's fantastic. And then one of the things that you brought up in the book, and I want to share with our viewers and listeners, that you talk about the ultimate code of success, and that obviously that's in your chapter, Hiding in Plain Sight. And you get very practical with the steps that you like to share in the book. Can you talk a little bit about some of these steps that are really important to you that you like to share with women?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I'll say first is what's different about the ultimate code is we probably have done a piece of this here and there and the other, but we've never probably looked at them as a whole part of the plan. And so that's why I present them like this. It pull this whole thing together, this all together. A version of it that works for you is going to be your ultimate code to success. All right. So number one is getting real with food. And for me, that is first awakening yourself and educating yourself that things are not the same anymore. Food is not raised the same. It's not processed the same. It's not the same. Right. And so getting real with food is educating yourself and then looking to how can you reduce or eliminate processed food, meat, and dairy. How you can reduce or eliminate. Right. And I never say that it has to be an absolute. Secondly, it is really getting the nutrients that you need. I always say, I kind of say like getting 10 extra nutrients. And what that is about is the way food is processed, we're not getting the nutrients that we need through food anymore. Not the same. Also, if we're eating mostly processed food, the standard American diet, we're definitively not getting the nutrients that we need. And if you think about it, when we hurt ourselves, when we break a bone or scratch, it generally heals itself. So there's a level of our bodies that are created to heal themselves if they get what they need. So, and then there is detoxing, getting rid of the gunk and the junk. You know, we've been eating for 30, 40, 50 years, and we may detox one time here or one time there. But we got to have a process where we're, consistently kind of sweeping things out so things can function properly. And then one of them, the last one I know, is getting ready for the new you. And that's that mindset piece again. When I start making changes, I was fighting for my life, right? When I was making changes. And people, God bless them, nobody means any harm. We want to understand things, so we got to put it in a box that makes sense to us. Are you vegan? Are you pescatarian? Are you this? Are you just going to drink juice? You're not eating meat? And so I call it the stank face. So you got to be prepared for people kind of coming at you with their opinions, with their faces, but really be able to stand confident in your choices and let that tell the story.
You brought up a good thing you brought up something interesting about the standard American diet, which unfortunately our societal habits here in the US are not by pattern automatically healthy. It's just not. Let's call a spade, of course. And I remember when my husband and I went to Europe last year, it was a rude awakening that even just comparing ketchup, like from our ketchup to their ketchup had like 3 ingredients. And then we had all kinds of crazy, I'm thinking back to the ketchup that we're used to over here. It doesn't matter the label or like what brand it is, it's all of the same junk. And so it's unfortunate that we have to start paying attention to our food, to your point. And I wanted to get your take on, you talk a little bit about juice fasting and such. And can you share a little bit of your thoughts on the overall concept of that?
Yeah, so before this journey, I had not gotten into it at all. And so part of the journey was fasting. And so I was educating myself. So I was hearing different testimonies. I was following functional medicine doctors. And one of the things they mentioned was juicing being a method to help you, a method of fasting, kind of pulling away, giving yourself a digestive break, right? When you're juicing, I call it the triple threat. When you're juicing, you're moving away from processed food, meat, and dairy, right? You're also giving yourself a bit of a digestive break because it doesn't have to deal with solid food. And then you're getting a lot of the nutrients that you get because the amount of nutrients and vegetables that go in juice are going to give you a lot more than nutrients that we're probably getting. And so once I got introduced to that idea, that intention behind it, I opened myself up to giving it a try. And so I did a 20-day, I've done as much as a 20-day juice fast, not for everyone, but for me. And what I always say is everything I do is designed to help you meet you where you are, right? And so when I tried it, it definitively just moved the needle for me. And so although I don't do it all the time or do extended ones all the time, I will keep like a green juice in my life, right, on a daily or weekly basis. So, but I always just offer people to read about it, learn about it, see if it resonates with you, give it a test or a try. And if it works, it works. If it not, let's keep going. Let's figure out what's going to work for your body.
One question before we go to break. How much weight did you, at your heaviest to where you are today, how much weight have you
Yeah.
lost?
So the highest was 227 and I got down to 165 pounds.
That's incredible. That's incredible. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We got more to come. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Renew Laser and Skincare, where beauty meets technology. From laser hair removal and anti-aging treatments to facial sculpting, acne care, and injectables, our expert team helps you look and feel your best with customized, results-driven care. Located in Littleton, Colorado, we offer a comfortable, welcoming space and cutting-edge treatments tailored just for you. Visit renewlaserandskincare.com to book your transformation today. Renew Laser and Skincare, where confidence begins.
Hi, I'm Adriana, and welcome to Fit Bites. Let's talk about cortisol. That's your body's main stress hormone, and why getting it tested might be a game changer for your health. Now, cortisol is meant to rise in the morning and fall at night. But when you're consistently stressed or sleep deprived, it can stay elevated all day, and that leads to weight gain, it leads to burnout, hormone imbalances, and even blood sugar issues. Now, whether you're male or female, if you're feeling wired but tired, storing fat around your midsection, or waking up at 2 or 3 a.m. consistently, those are considered red flags. Getting your cortisol levels tested can actually help you understand if your stress response is stuck in overdrive. So from there, you can use strategies like stress reduction, walking, adaptogens, and nutrition to bring it all back into balance. Your stress response is not something to guess on. Test it, address it, and feel the difference. Stay tuned for more Fit Bites with Adriana. Today we are talking about the midlife reset, and we're spending some quality time with Coach Rhonda J. Williams. She is an author, speaker, and coach on the matter of women over 40. And Rhonda, I'm curious, you work with women now. This is your wheelhouse, and you're working with women. What is it like for you to address women? And I do want to bring up one slide where we have some info about how you work with women. Talk a little bit about what you do to connect with other women who are interested in working with you or who need help.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm always out and about doing shows like yourself, doing other podcasts, speaking in person, and getting in front of people. So I always say a good first step is definitely the book. And then from there, I offer what I call my Jumpstart Bundle, Super Bundle. And that is the book. It comes with a companion action guide, and it also comes with a 5-day course to help you really implement things. And then I know how life is. I know how my journey was. I know that some of us are gonna need hand holding. Some of us are going to need someone to sit with us one by one on one, knee to knee, and really help us walk the thing down one step at a time, help us figure out what's going to be our path forward. And so I do work with people one on one in my premium private coaching as well to help them figure out their specific path forward.
Do you work with women worldwide, near and far? What does that look like?
Absolutely. I work internationally. And it's always interesting. You know, one of the most interesting clients I had working with as a coach, they were in Transylvania. And I never got over that. So yes, I absolutely work across internationally because nowadays with technology, we can meet you right where you are.
Yes, we want to bring up the website real quickly so that our viewers and then listeners can see. It's rhondaonamission.com. This is where you can find that information. And what I do like is the fact that you're very intentional with the clarity of how you can help women. What's your favorite onboarding process when you're working with someone to kind of bring them at ease that this is a great path where that she is going to benefit from?
Yeah, I love that you brought that up because I'm always going to do a discovery call first because I know that I have great information. I know that this is a path for many, but I want people to know, absolutely. I want to hear their story, hear what's going on, and let them know how I can assist them and if I can assist them. I know that it's tough. We've been trying to find answers, and it feels like this has to work, but I don't know. I just met Coach Rhonda out in the world. I don't actually know, so I always do a discovery call so we can really get knee to knee, one on one, and figure out what's going on and how specifically I can assist.
I tell you, I love technology simply because it's created such new ways to have us stay connected, to become connected, and be able to tap into creative tools for sure. And so I want to talk a little bit more about your book. The one thing that you have on here that I earmarked. You talked a little bit about where it went. You talked on chapter 3 when they say timing is everything. As a human being and a coach, I work with clients to help them find clarity, build confidence, and design their unique path forward. But even with the best laid plans, I've had to learn to accept that timing matters. Can tell me how impactful this is for you right now with the timing and coming across information that could be helpful for a woman who's really struggling in perimenopause and menopause?
Yeah, that particular pillar in my framework that came about because when you've done all you can and it still doesn't come to pass, it can leave you flatline. And so bringing that idea, that perspective in is a way to help kind of quell that and help you be resilient and be able to bounce back and get in because there's only so much we can control, right? We can do our best but we have to keep going. My dad always says if what you want is not where you're standing, keep moving. And so when you understand that different things are at play and it's not just you, maybe we can not take it personal and we can still get back up and keep moving forward.
I always like to look at perimenopause and menopause as like playing chess. Now it's all about making chess moves moving forward. Like maybe when we were younger, we were playing checkers. Now it's about playing chess. And I think that, and I love just the different points that your book talks about. Let's go ahead and let's bring up the slide one more time and talk about how and who would you say that this is for, even though I'm stating the obvious, but just for super clarity, who is this book for?
Yeah, I always say it's for women over 40 who are feeling stuck, exhausted, and powerless. And they know that there is something better, something more, but they're just not getting the answers that they need. They're just not getting the help and the support that they need. I want to highlight a path and the idea that more is possible.
The QR code is there for the screen for our viewers to grab. The book is Real Health Answers for Weight Loss After 40. This is an incredible book. We're going to take a quick commercial break. Be right there. We're coming right back for you.
Are you pouring your heart and soul into your business, but nobody seems to notice? Are you struggling to get your offer, your expertise, your program seen by the right people? Well, you're not alone. At Lunar Marketer, we believe every business deserves to shine. That's why we specialize in boosting your visibility with a powerful mix of strategies that actually work without the complicated systems or outdated outreach. Scan the QR code now to schedule your free consultation or email us to learn more.
The midlife reset. That's what we've been talking about today. Coach Rhonda J. Williams has been our guest, speaker, author, coach of the matter of women over 40. Rhonda, where can we find you in the virtual space?
Absolutely. So Facebook, Instagram, I'm Rhonda on a mission, and I always drop little gems. I always go live periodically and just share little gems, little notes to kind of keep you motivated during the day. You can also find me on LinkedIn at Rhonda on a Mission. There, I'm speaking to that high performer, that corporate woman who she knows her stuff, but she's feeling a little something, something. She needs help starting to rewrite what's possible for herself after 40.
And then let's bring up the website one more time. Super easy to remember. It is rhondaonamission.com. There you can find all the information and upcoming events and nuggets that she has going on. One last question I wanted to ask you. What is the one legacy you wish to leave in the world?
I want people and women to know you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to know it all. Just keep doing more of the things that are moving you forward towards the positive places you want in your life, and moving you away from what we don't want. Just keep moving.
That's fantastic. I love that. And Coach Rhonda J. Williams, it has been amazing to have you on the show. Thank you so much for spending your time and energy here and sharing your nuggets. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure.
And we want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. We appreciate their support always and forever. Biomed Mobile IV, Dapper No Code Launchpad, Renew Laser and Skincare, and Synergize Fitness. And we are also on the web. Our website is thehealthrevolutiontv.com. There you can find information that is coming up. You can email us with any show episode ideas you'd love for us to cover. On the corner of your screen, you'll see a QR code that's really super easy to snatch. And then you can rely on us to be there for you every Tuesday and Thursday on the Arion TV channel, on E360 TV, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, and all the increasing distribution hubs that you can find us. That is all the time that we have for today. Until next time, take care of yourselves. We'll see you soon.